Bye, honey.
Go this way.
You have to get like two busy.
I don't know why the other people have the same.
Morning and the last weekend for the month of October. The scene on this autumn morning from Capitol Hill. Congress is back to work this week. The House is in tomorrow, the Senate on Tuesday. President Clinton is at the White House. Vice President Gore is in Massachusetts and New Hampshire through the day. Speaker Newt Gingrich is in Atlanta, and Senator Bob Dole, the Republican leader, is on the campaign trail starting his day in Iowa. Coming up on C-SPAN's Sunday Journal in just a moment, we'll be checking in with John Yang, who covers Capitol Hill for the Washington Post, and Jeff Birnbaum of Time Magazine. He has a cover in Time Magazine, which will be on newsstands tomorrow, focusing on presidential candidate Pat Buchanan. We'll be talking about that in just a few minutes. Also at the bottom of the hour, our newspaper roundtable segment, two members of the House Budget Committee, Congresswoman Patsy Mink, Democrat of Hawaii, and Congressman Nick Smith, Republican of Michigan. Our newsmaker profile interview will focus on a Republican member of the House, Bob Livingston of Louisiana, who's the chairman of the House Appropriations Committee. As always, we want to hear from you as well, but we'll start with John Yang of the Washington Post. Good morning to you.
Morning, Steve. How are you?
Front page of the Washington Post, Inside the Revolution, the War of Words. What's this all about?
Words are very important to Speaker Gingrich. He really defines the debate, shapes the way things are discussed with his very, very smart, very clever use of words. About several years ago, GOPAC, the fund that he headed that was committed to electing state and local elected Republicans, sent out a memo to all its members, essentially saying how you can talk like Newt, listing words, some positive words like preserve, protect, constructive, that you should use, or that the GOPAC members should use to talk about Republican efforts, and then destructive, sick, other words like that to talk about the Democrats. And in the budget talk on Medicare and on Medicaid, they've been very successful in shaping the debate, in sort of getting us all in the press to stop using the word cut, to stop talking about cuts in spending, because it's not one way to look at it is that it's a cut, that from if you project inflation, preserving current services at a rate of inflation, it is below that level, but it is in actual absolute number terms an increase. And the Speaker has been very adept, and his entire Republican leadership team is very adept at getting us to stop using those words, that it's slowing the growth rather than cutting.
One individual featured in this article, it's also on page A26 inside the Post, is Linda Duvall, a Republican strategist, and she talks about a focus group that was held in Cincinnati on March 6th, and one senior citizen offered the word preserve as opposed to cuts. Does that make a difference?
It does, because you're talking about saving the system, and it's a word you heard a great deal last week or the week before last Thursday when they were debating the Medicare bill on the House floor, that this was a bill to preserve Medicare, to save the system for the next generation, rather than cutting or trimming benefits. Or actually, what they're doing is sort of cutting trimming the payments that they send to doctors, reimbursement payments to doctors and hospitals. I think that it's a positive idea that you're saving the system. And I thought it was telling that the day before the vote, the House vote, I stood in the hallway, the Speaker's suites, and coming in and out of rooms on meetings were not so much lawmakers working on the deal, but there were Linda Polster, Linda Duvall, Mike Deaver, the image man from the Reagan White House was there. A lot of people sort of shaping the debate, getting words for members to use in their speeches the next day.
From time to time, your newspaper and others have been featuring different freshman members of the House, including Pennsylvania Congressman Phil English, who is one of the 73 new freshman Republicans. What kind of an infrastructure is in place within the Republican House leadership that helps freshmen like Phil English?
Just their sheer numbers gives them support. They have their 73 members. They can shape, if they stand as a block as they have on a number of votes, they can shape the outcome of debate, of votes, and the leaders have to listen to them. They have to pay attention to what they're saying and listen to their concerns, and we're seeing it on the debt ceiling, you're seeing it on a number of issues.
What kind of a week have you had?
It's been a busy week. It's been an interesting week. It has been, in many ways, an historic week. The votes in the House and the Senate Thursday and Friday, or early Saturday morning on on the budget bill really do signal a fundamental shift in the direction of government. That for the past 60 years, we've seen more and more power coming toward Washington, more and more bureaucracy being built in Washington, and now we're seeing an effort to send that back to the states, to sort of get rid of programs. We're seeing programs that were in the original Social Security Act, programs that were part of the Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, being dismantled, sent back to the states. It really is a truly historic moment on the Hill.
A couple of things from the Baltimore Sun, an editorial cartoon that says, "We Republicans put our money where the mouth is," and it's a caricature of Senator Bob Dole and Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich. And on the front page, Paul West has this story: GOP is outdoing Reagan in revamping government. He says that 15 years after Ronald Reagan rode into Washington, vowing to slay a federal monster he viewed as wasteful and bloated, the Republican Congress is on the verge of finishing the job. Under the Republicans-controlled Congress that came to power last November, the nation's social safety net, as Mr. Reagan termed it, is being shrunk and totally redesigned.
It's absolutely true. You really are seeing the Republicans on the Hill now going a step beyond what Reagan did, and also changing the debate once again. When Ronald Reagan became president, no longer was Congress talking about expanding programs. They were talking about it sort of holding on to what they had. Now we're talking about taking programs apart, making government smaller. We're actually talking about doing away with a department, a cabinet agency. The Commerce Department would be eliminated under the House budget bill.
Two other notes. First of all, Reuters is reporting this morning that Speaker Gingrich considered resigning during the height of the book investigation that was part of the early days of his tenure as Speaker of the House. How serious do you think he was about that?
I think when we talk about the Speaker's use of language, I do wonder if this isn't another little hyperbole on his part. I don't know that I think the investigation is serious. It will get partisan and nasty, but I don't know that it was that serious that he would have seriously thought of resigning.
He said that no one, this is a quote from Speaker Gingrich, "No one can get up every day and take the kind of totally dishonest, cheap shots that we take and not wonder sometimes why you keep doing it."
Again, his use of words, describing the Democratic charges as cheap shots. In the past, he's described them as sick. It's another bit of the Speaker's rhetoric.
Tom Hardy in the Chicago Tribune has a piece on page 5 of that newspaper, "Gingrich's alleged wrongs reminiscent of Wright," referring to Speaker Wright of Texas, who left office, how many years ago now? 5 years ago?
1906 now. It was 89, wasn't it? I think.
6 years ago, you're right. Another member of the House, Gary Studd, says that he's not seeking re-election. Democrat from Massachusetts.
That's going to be an interesting district for the Democrats to see if they can hold on to. It is a socially conservative district down in sort of the southeastern corner of Massachusetts, stretching out onto the Cape and Martha's Vineyard. He, in many ways, was an anomaly. I think that he was much more liberal in his district, but he focused on maritime issues. He focused on constituent service that helped him get reelected.
Did this surprise you, the fact that he will not seek another term?
I'm getting to the point where I'm no longer surprised when you hear Democratic members, particularly those who've had important positions here on the Marine Maritime Committee, who find themselves in the minority and probably in the minority for several years to come.
Let's take a look at some of the Newsweekly's magazine covers, including Newsweek magazine, which has a cover called "The Melatonin Craze, Sleep, Jet Lag, and Aging, the Selling of a Natural Wonder Drug, plus the Highs and Lows of Herbal Ecstasy." Also above the banner, "Decision Time Inside the Powell Camp." U.S. News and World Report has the cover story, "The Democrats, Is the Party Over?" Steve Roberts contributed to that article. He will join us on this program tomorrow morning. The Washington Journal gets underway each weekday morning at 7 a.m. Eastern Time, 4 o'clock for those of you on the West Coast. And Time magazine has the cover story, "Hellraiser." Huey Long for the 90s, Pat Buchanan wields the most lethal weapon in Campaign 96. One of the people that contributed to that article is Jeff Birnbaum, who joins us live on Capitol Hill. Good morning.
Good morning.
You begin your article by talking about Ron Mitchell. Why is he significant to the Buchanan campaign?
Well, Ron Mitchell is a New Hampshireite who is an electrician just working up there, a regular working guy, but oddly enough we found him waiting to listen to Pat Buchanan. Now, why is a working guy, a blue-collar fellow, waiting to listen to Pat Buchanan? The reason is that